Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to talk about gender roles in relationships, the workplace, at home, and society as a whole. I'm going to give you my opinion about gender roles, and I'm going to show you some studies that have shown the differences in genders and where they benefit the most in a societal structure. Okay. First, I'll just right out the gate. My opinion is that the norms that we consider gender roles, like the old form of gender roles being like the man is the head of the household while the woman cooks and cleans and does everything for the home. The man does everything outside, is like taking care of the lawn and all that stuff, as well as being like the primary breadwinner, while the female raises the children and takes care of the house. That structure, I don't think that was chosen by society as a whole, much like the way that modern gender theory is being sort of decided by intellectuals. I don't think that these gender roles were decided. I think that over time, men and women fell into these roles because they fit them more or less across the board. Now, there are many instances where the gender roles are reversed and it's a healthy relationship or a healthy work like job for the person. So I'm not saying that it's absolute, but there's just a stark difference between men and women, and not just in the physiological sense. Women are much more compassionate and much more open to new things, whereas men are more belligerent. But they're good at spatial reasoning or like solving problems, I suppose. But today, we destroy those gender roles and replace them with quasi-gender roles where a man can fill the role of the mother or the father, or two men can fill the roles of a mother and father, which it still works. But to discard all of the data and all of the studies that have shown the stark differences between men and women would be ignorant. Okay, so while obviously not everyone is the same, so this is not a one size fits all, but it's more like a majority fit, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, but let's get right into this. I want to define the patriarchy first, before, just because I don't think that there is a patriarchal societal structure in America anymore. I think it's gone. I think that women have every opportunity that men do in and out of the household. So like there are women CEOs. There are like women, everything that there are men, there are women, even in like sports now. So it's, and vice versa even. So I think that it's important to talk about, at least. Okay, whether you agree with me or not is okay, because it's not absolute. Like, it doesn't have to be one way or the other. Everyone can follow their own, right? But the patriarchy is a social system in which men hold primary power and predominate in roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and control of property. Some patriarchal societies are also patrilineal, meaning the property and title are inherited by the male lineage. So that structure has long since been gone since before I was born. It's never been like that. There's always been equality amongst men and women, and that's one of the things I don't really understand, I suppose, and I wish I could. I don't fully understand why women want to fill male roles and males want to fill female roles, but I understand that there are people that want that. So I reserve their right to do that. So I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I just don't understand it, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's beneficial to either party, because, and again, unless you're one of those outliers, because if the woman or if the man is better at something than the woman, then why wouldn't they do that in order to both benefit the most? You know, I guess it's maybe a too simple way of thinking it, but I don't know. But here's a Huffington Post article, and I just wanted to really read just this paragraph, honestly. And it says, at the heart of most relationship problems nowadays is unclear expectations and contradictory roles or goals between partners. Modern couples are plagued with a whole set of new problems. Where to live if each partner's job is in a different location, separate or joint bank accounts, kids and a family, or pursue a full-time career. Who will do the cooking? Who will do the cleaning? And even like where to holiday if partners have different interests and hobbies. See, the ultimate thing here, in my opinion, is that if you don't share those common beliefs, you have no business being in a relationship. You aren't meant for each other, if you understand what I'm saying. If you have two different philosophies, how can you go your entire life trying to force that on the other person in your relationship? That's just a recipe for disaster and unhappiness, you know? So if one partner in the relationship believes that the female should be the caretaker of the home, and the male and the other thinks the male should be the caretaker of the home, those people may not ever agree. So why would they put themselves through something like a marriage, which should be sacred, although it is no longer? Why would they put themselves through that, knowing the other person has a completely different understanding of their gender and your role in the society? Because if we just get rid of all the roles, then I feel like society will just collapse. And if women are men, men are women, and everybody's doing whatever they want, I feel like that can't work. But I'm gonna back up this stuff with information if you just get through this part. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but here's a study showing like differences in, I'll just go to the top so you can read this top, and I'll have all of these in the description. This is gender differences in personality across 10 aspects of the Big Five. And I mostly want to talk about one or two of the big aspects that really contribute to the disparity of men and women in the workplace. Okay. This is done by Jana Weisberg, Jacob B. Hirsch, and Colin DeYoung, all from different universities across the country. So, but I mostly want to talk about agreeableness, because agreeableness is sort of the deciding factor of whether a person is going to agree to the rate of which they're paid for the work that they do. So I'm going to show you how there's a disparity between men and women, where females are much more, well, the traditional female gender role is more agreeable, whereas the male is more volatile or assertive. Sorry. But it's because of this that there is the so-called wage gap. It's because women are more susceptible to being okay with being paid whatever they're paid for to do their job. They're not going to stand up and tell their boss that they want a raise because they think they deserve it. They just are more agreeable. And you can see this in this graph here. And it shows also just between white and Asian people. It's just the study I pulled up. But it shows that on almost a whole point of agreeableness, and with twice as many females being agreeable, almost twice, than males in the study. So that just reinforces what I said, that females are more agreeable than men. Okay. And I also wanted to go over the conclusion of this article, just so that if you want to see what I'm saying, you could say these are the differences in compassion. Females are higher on the compassion scale, like I said earlier. Volatility over time, and these graphs are over time as you age. So, but men are more volatile as they age. Females tend to go down faster. Orderliness among males at a younger age is higher, and then as females get older, they become more orderly than men are. Okay. And this just shows, again, with compassion, the level of compassion in males, females. And it's pretty stark. Like, females are much more compassionate than men are. But, and here's the distribution of females to males in agreeableness. So there are much less agreeable men in the world than there are females, but we've beaten that horse. But by examining personality at the level of the 10 aspects of the Big Five, we demonstrated that gender differences in personality traits are even more pervasive than has typically been reported. So they're even more starkly different than they were once thought. In every one of the 10 traits assessed, significant gender differences were evident. For some Big Five domains, the aspect level traits showed gender differences in opposite directions, which helped to explain why gender differences are not typically evident for the Big Five domains of conscientiousness and openness/intellect, and why the gender difference for extroversion is typically very small. Clearly, the average personalities of men and women are systematically different. Does this mean, however, that Bill Cosby's metaphor that men and women are from different species is apt? We would caution against advising such a dramatic interpretation of the pervasive gender differences in personality that we report in this study. The point being is that they found significant differences in gender. So that sort of throws to the wind the entire modern gender theory that you can be whatever gender that you want to be, because you have sort of predetermined biological differences in your mental processes and mental facilities. So, and we're going to get to intelligence levels and how there is a difference in intelligence levels, and it's more nuanced than you think it is. It's not just men are smarter than women or women are smarter than men. It's more nuanced than that. But I just also want to cover the origin of gender roles a little bit, because like I said at the beginning, I don't think that we as a society said, okay, men, you work, women, you stay at home, take care of the family. I feel like those were sort of fallen into because those are the roles that we saw fit, that each partner had a stronger ability at doing each of those, okay? But this was a study done for Psychology Today. There's much confusion in our society regarding the best way to think about gender similarities and differences. From the vantage point of the unified theory, people are generally using only two vectors in thinking about sex and gender, when the reality is three, and the third being this analysis is a clear understanding of the human mental architecture that is nearly a purely biological nor social force. So, but ultimately, the conclusion of their article, of their study, was specifically Eagly et al., meaning all of the people in the study, examined perceptions of men and women on agency, which the authors defined as the tendency to orient toward the self and one's own mastery and goal attainment. So also, they, like, for example, they're ambitious, assertive, or competitive. And communion being the other tendency, which the authors defined as a tendency to orient towards the other and well-being, so more compassionate, warm, and expressive. And communion prevails in the female stereotype, while agency prevails in the male stereotype. So that sort of just summarizes what I just came to the conclusion of from the previous study. Okay. So ultimately what I'm saying is, women want to be women, typically. Men want to be men, typically. And those two things are different. Now, there are outliers of feminine men and masculine females, masculine women. And that's okay. That's completely fine. We're all human. But to simply throw away to throw away like the traditional roles of gender, it would be foolish. Like, we didn't get where we are having terrible ideas, if you understand what I'm saying. But then we come to the differences in IQ, and this is a very hot topic between men and women, but I don't understand, because if you look into it and you understand the study fully, you'd realize that it's much more nuanced than boys drool and girls rule, or, you know, girls go to Jupiter to get more stupider. That's not a thing. But so the point of this paper, I just like reading the conclusions because I don't have time to read everything to you, because I literally just read all of it. So I'll just tell you the summarization. The conclusion of this study was that male and female mean IQs are about equal below the age of 15, but males have a higher mean IQ from the age 15 on. The effect of sex differences in IQ is largest at the high extreme of intelligence. Since many of the more prestigious roles in society are associated with a high IQ, the lack of female representation in these roles may be partially due to the fewer females being competitive at the highest levels. This does not mean that females should not be given equal opportunity to demonstrate their abilities, as this would create a worsened artificial glass ceiling, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. So if you take a look at these graphs, this is IQ along the bottom, and the amount of males to females is the y-axis. Okay, so you can see clearly here that there are more women in the 100 IQ category by a whole 1.5 increments. Okay, so there are much more average intelligence women than there are men by this study. Okay, if you look down here, there are much more stupid men than there are stupid women, or I shouldn't say stupid, I should say low IQ. And by the way, this means almost nothing, because IQ tests are all kind of bullshit. So this is purely speculation. I just like to talk and hear myself speak. Okay. Anyways, but then if you look at the other end of the graph, you'll see that the consistency of the male intelligence spectrum, I suppose you can call it, results in the higher end. There might be more stupid men, but there's also more intelligent men. So while the majority of women are smarter than the majority of men, when you get to the extreme end of the spectrum, once you go past 146, I think, a woman has never scored higher than 146. So I think it's that number. So it's kind of tough when you have this disparity because obviously nobody wants to be told that they're stupid, but it's not exactly that they're telling you that you're stupid either, when you're clearly much better at men than a lot of things that they don't even understand, you know. But it's just something to talk about. And here's a clearer, this is an updated, more recent study that shows almost the same exact thing. It's only shifted slightly. And I mean, that just shows that our society is getting more intelligent. So that's nice. But again, it shows that middle of the road, there are much more middle of the road women, where there are more stupid men, low IQ men, but also more high IQ men. Okay? And that really doesn't mean that much besides that we're different. That's the only thing that says. So, I don't know. And I just wanted to look at this one, so the mean IQ for a female is 101.41, and the mean for a man is 103.08. Hardly a difference. I would call those the same number. Okay? And in the total population of this survey, there's 50 million people. And of those people, if you go towards the extreme ends, over 170, there's 10 females for every 104 men. So that's already pretty significant. As you see, the disparity only grows as you go further down the scale. And once you get over 176, sorry, I misspoke earlier. I said 140? Yeah, that's just what was on this graph. That's my bad. It was 176. I'm an idiot. See, my IQ is definitely not that high. But I don't know. I just think that ultimately the way that gender roles are shaping our society today could prove to be problematic in the future. A lot of women, when women began joining the workforce, a lot of women didn't want to. They didn't want to take on the role of the man in the household because they were women. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's one thing that drives me insane these days, is that women are no longer proud of their femininity. And it's depressing. It's it is amazing and beautiful and incredible to be a woman. You are literally the giver of life, the ultimate superpower. You breathe life into this earth. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm ignorant. But if you like what I have to say, or don't, let me know in the comments. Drop a like, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Let me know what you want to hear. Do you like me when I talk about these kinds of things? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Provide some discourse. I don't know. But, yeah, lately it's been tough. So, but I'm going to try to make my schedule more solid. I'm going to try to do 5 videos a week. I'm going to do one less lower effort one Monday through Thursday, and then a higher quality, more thought through on Fridays. And then I'll stream on the weekends or whenever I really feel like streaming. It might be right after I finish recording this. So, but for all of you that are watching, if you're still watching at this point in the video, you're the best. I greatly appreciate that you're even willing to listen to what I have to say. And I don't know. I think it's important. This is like my journal. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. See you later.